Roberto Pugliese. Hello and welcome here in Ptuj. You said this is your first time here in Ptuj. Is your installation already done here in Ptuj?
Not yet. We are working on it. It's a work in progress. But I hope we will finish tomorrow.
Okay. Your installation is called Concerto per Natura Morta, or the concert for the dead nature, and it's very fascinating. I saw the picture. I didn't see the installation because it's in working process. Yes, it's very fascinating. Trunks hanging down from the ceiling, and can you tell me what's the story? What's the idea behind it?
Well, so I found that trunks in a forest in Italy, and they was already dead for natural reason. I mean, not for humans. They was just old. So I cut them, but first I recorded all the sound in this forest. Because I put some special microphones outside, inside these trunks, the trunks. So I recorded a lot of sound in forest, and then I recorded a lot of process during the work, because I emptied them with a special machine. Yes. With a special machine, I made a special machine to empty, and some of them were emptied just by hands. And I recorded all the process because the meaning, the first meaning of this work is just to translate in some way the energy of the process in new life for the trunks. I mean, that structure were dead. So I'm trying to give them a new life through the sounds. So I just captured all the sound in their process and make a special composition, and I'm trying just to give them a new life with sound.
Mm-hmm. How did you compose the installation? How do you construct it? Is it different? It depends from the place, or there is always the same number of these chestnut trunks? Because there are chestnut trunks, we have to.
Well, depends of course, depends on the space we have. But here we have the measure number, the maximum number of trunks, and they are 12. And of course, the composition is almost the same. I just changed something in base of the dimensions, acoustics, but the meaning of the work is the same. Of course, I changed the dispositions of the trunks, where I can put one on other trunks. And of course, as like all the installation, it takes forms and life inside the space. So it will, in some way, will it become part of the space.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's important to say that the trunks are at different heights.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, because for a psychoacoustics way, we have a different approach about sound if we have different sources of sounds. I mean, we will have 12 different points of listening. So when a person is inside the space, he can listen different approach, different sound in base of the dimension of the space, in base of where the trunks are, so the speakers inside the trunks are. So it will change, and when a person just go through the installation, he can have a different sound approach. So this is the way why we have a different point, so different levels. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're an artist that doesn't want be labeled, that doesn't want labels. You said I'm a creative person, but you work mostly with the sound.
Yeah, I work mostly with sound because I studied music at first, so I'm very familiar with sound. with music in general, and so this is just a way to give life to my ideas. But for me, it's the same for sculpture or for painting or for or everything, all over other way. This is the most my familiar, but I work a lot with aesthetical parts too, with robotics, so with cybernetics and other stuffs. But always with sound because I feel it. But as you told before, I just think I'm a creative person, not just a sound artist.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, Roberto, the aesthetics and how much important, and I would say it's really important, but correct me if I'm not right, it's the visual aspect of your installation. So the aesthetic side of your installations.
Well, I think it's very important. Just for one thing, I always think this. To make a good work, good artwork, I mean, we need to have a balance about three parts. The first one is a visual part or aesthetic part. The second one is a technical part, and the third one is a conceptual part. So if we have a balance between these three factors, we can have something like an artwork that can speak in a different levels. I mean, everybody can understand it, can feel something about this artwork. So this is the way, because I usually use aesthetic visual parts too, and because I think I need to capture the persons, and then I can explain them why I'm doing this, what is inside this. I mean, there are different levels. The first one is from stomach, and then you can take brain. But you need both, not just one. Otherwise, the artwork is not working properly.
Mm-hmm. For example, you included trunks in this installation, Concerto per Natura Morta. You also include musical instruments in your installations. Which musical instruments have you included, and what are the other components that you are also including in your sound installations?
Well, I worked and still working a lot with classical instruments too, because I like to work between tradition and maybe something like contemporary music. I mean, I like the aesthetical traditional part, but I'm trying to obviously to compose something strong, something new, something contemporary. So I start from these instruments and I modify them to make music, because I studied a lot about forma concerto. I mean, from Greece time we are also listening music in concert, but I think we can have a lot of different approach to music. So maybe installation can be one of them. We can listen music through installation too, or some other kind of way, I don't know. So this is the way, because I started to work with instruments, but I usually work with everything, because I'm studying a lot to how sound change in base of materials. I mean, instruments are one stuff, but you can use glasses. I use glasses, I use plastics, I use a lot of ceramics, a lot of different way, because the sound change in base of materials. So I'm studying a lot about how sound change in base of materials, and usually in some way I'm building some new instruments. So I at first imagine and create different instruments, and then I will start to compose with them.
Mm-hmm. But you use the instruments already made, or you always make them?
No. I mean, yes. When I use different materials, I made it. I made them from. Okay, but when I use normal instrument, I usually use all already made instrument and modify them to play in different way.
So tradition is important for you, I would say.
So somehow maybe yes, why not? Because I come from conservatory, so I have, of course, one part of my study and my tradition is from classical music. But I think we need to know where we are coming from to understand where we want to go. So we need to understand what was before us to just understand where we want to go.
This year, Festival Artstays title is No More Silence. Is there a place for silence in your work, Roberto?
Well,
do you work with silence also?
In some way, I mean, of course, John Cage was the father of a concept of silence. Christina Kubis too made some work about silence. Well, I have some work, for example, I made some 3D scores about my composition, and there are no sounds there. It is just conceptual work in some way, but that kind of work speaks about music, but there is no music or sounds in general. So yes, silence is important. In the same time with music or sound, it's the same. We need silence and sound in both of them to make something with some sense, with something that we can understand and love. We need both.
What role plays the kinetic in your works?
Well, I worked a lot with cinetic and cybernetic because I really think that just movements, just cinetic can help, can make sound or can just change in base of sound. For example, I made this work now more maybe than 10 years ago with 2 robotic arms. The name is Equilibrium Variant. One version of this work is in a permanent collection in ZKM Museum. It's a quite a big installation. Anyway, in this case I have some robotic arms with microphone and speakers. So they are made to find a balance between Larsen phenomenon, but Larsen phenomenon have no balance. It's impossible to obtain. So they always change in automatic way, and it make a lot of sounds. Just because I really think that cinetics and sound can work together and can make something really interesting.
Roberto, can you describe a little bit your working process? For example, you have one idea for sound installation or some artwork, but then from idea to realization.
Well, it's a long process. I mean, the idea in general can arrive from a lot of different ways. Sometimes I have something I call audio wave or something like audio video visualization,
yes,
imagination,
yes.
Something like this. Then I start to make at first something like 3D print, 3D, no sorry, not sketches, not print. And then I'm just starting to think about what I need to make it. I mean, for structures, for physical part, and for sound part too. Then I start to maybe make software because I'm a programmer too. I make all my software by myself. And then I start to think about what kind of technical part I need, maybe Arduino, maybe some other microcontrollers or other stuffs, and then just start to study a lot. I always study a lot because usually when I have an idea, I need to study to realize it, for programming, for just understanding better what I'm doing, or for everything. So I spent a lot of time to programming and in studying, and then I start to realize, and then in some way, mysterious way, it will take place. It will exist.
And how long does it take, for example, for Concerto per Natura Morta?
It was very long.
Because it was a tough work with the death strength.
It was a very long process because
physical work also, yes.
The physical work will be very long, and the conceptual too in some way, and of course, as usually, it's always maybe we artists need money, we need time, and need support from realize this kind of big installation, of course. So I did it with my gallery in Italy, Studio La Città. It is in Verona. So my galleries understood the potential of this artwork, the meaning and everything. And just when they had an exhibition before, of course, we started to work on this process, and maybe the whole processing it took maybe more than 1 year. Of course, it was very long.
Would you say, Roberto, that this lockdown, because we have to touch this topic also, was creative for you or not at all?
Well, so it was very creative. So I just was in my studio and worked a lot for art and a lot for music too, because I have different music group, music situations. So I work half in art and half with music, but it was of course very creative, very intense, because, well, it was just a time when we need to stop, not just need, we must stop. So I found a lot of time to make process and the project that usually I can't do, because of course in real life we always run. We always follow a lot of stuffs, a lot of works, and in this case I had a lot of time to organize stuffs and projects and things that I usually cannot do.
No More Silence. I will use this title again. How would you, if we put it in the context of sociological, etc. situation in the world that is going on right now, how would you say No More Silence?
Well, so there are a lot of things we can think about. The first is about difference between people. I mean, about we are still thinking in our society about the color of our skin, or about religions, or about a lot of different things. And of course we need to understand that difference in life, in nature, in everything is very important. It's one of the most important things. Just to answer to your question is we don't have to be silent about this kind of things. I mean, we need to speak about this kind of difference, that all people must be equal. And of course we need to speak about our earth, our world, and a lot of things. Of course, I'm trying with my work, of course, to speak sometimes about, of course, this kind of questions. But you know, we are artists, so we are very romantic, and we think we can change something with our work. Otherwise, we cannot do this kind of work.
Roberto Pugliese, thank you very much for this interview. I wish you a pleasant stay here in Ptuj, and good luck and a lot of creativity by your future work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.